Hey, welcome back to Paris for another Capcom Unity chat with DontNod, the team behind Remember Me. In part 1 we learned about the sound and the art of the game. Now it's time to learn a little bit more about the story.
I hope they will discover and enjoy a great sci-fi adventure that takes place in I'd like to say in a universe that could happen. This is Paris in 70 years after some major disasters, of course, because there is always disasters in science fiction, and a city who is trying to rebuild itself, and people who are struggling with ugly experiences from the past, and suddenly there is this new technology called the Sensen technology, who gives them the opportunity to forget what hurts too much. Everybody is jumping on that technology because everybody wants to live a better life, a life free of any pain, any hurtful memory. And Nilin herself, since she has lost all her memory, she's suffering from that. She tries to get her memory back, to know who she was. At the same time, since she's a terrorist underground agent, she's supposed to deal and manipulate other human memory and emotion. She's going to discover that perhaps that's not that cool. Perhaps there are ethical issues, and perhaps you are not supposed to erase what you don't like in your past. Perhaps to be a full grown-up human being, you're supposed to remember everything you did.
And then the clouds broke, and bathed in way too much sunlight, we got to talk to head honcho J-Max.
That's a good question. Thanks for asking it, Neil, and thanks for asking it on Twitter, people. It's hard for me to look back and tell you why we chose female protagonists. I guess it just made sense to us with the story and the themes that we were gonna explore. Some cyberpunk games are much more about physical augmentation, and those are themes that are well known in cyberpunk, and which I like very much personally. But we wanted to do something different, a world where technology was the core of something that was more gonna have to do with how you relate to your intimacy and your identity. What if your memories could be digitized, and what if they could be traded, sold, and controlled? And to explore those themes of intimacy and identity, a female lead just sounded like it was the way to go. It may sound very cliche to say that women are more sensitive, that kind of stuff, but some of that is probably true and went into our thinking process. A lot of thinking went into defining the way she was going to fight. So as much as we could, we tried to have really circular movements that were very much inspired by Aikido techniques, whereby you're going to use your opponent's strength and momentum to actually kick them and kick their butts. So as much as we could, we did that, and you can see that in the overload moves, in some of the quick time event finishing moves as well. And then for what was more like the straight punches and kicks, where we couldn't do that, but we tried to make it as fluid and feline and graceful as we could. So it was really a combination of all of this that went into defining the system. That's a very good question. Of course, I hope Remember Me will inspire people. Mostly, I hope if just one person stops and thinks a little bit about what social networks might mean, what potential there is in them, in terms of threats to your personal data, your intimacy, your identity, and the way they might connect us one another, but make us way less bound to one another, and how those interactions are changing, and some of the dangers that are there. If just one person stops and thinks about that, and again, we're not teaching any lesson. These are themes for you to think about if you want to. We're not teaching any lesson, but if that can inspire you to reevaluate, or at least stop for a minute and think about that if you haven't before, then that's my job done. Wow, you have tricky questions. I'll be proudest of just having made it. It's an extremely competitive landscape, making video games, and we set out to produce a AAA game, and that was really a gamble for many people involved in the adventure in the beginning, and now it's paying off, and to fulfill those people's expectations, and to know that we made it is probably the best thing I'll remember from this project.
Big thanks to JMax and the DontNod team. Remember to keep on Capcom Unity for all the Remember Me news.